Connect 4.
Welcome to Connect 4. Hello, Joe.
Hello, Gary.
Thanks for agreeing to take part in Connect 4 today.
Pleasure.
And can you tell me what your first song is, please?
First song is Paper Bag by Fiona Apple.
I was staring at the sky, just looking for a star to pray on or wish on or something like that. I was having the
Tell me the time and the place where you first connected with this song.
I was 18 years old, and I was sharing a flat with some friends in Colchester, in Essex, and I came home from work one day, and my flatmate was sitting behind the armchair, singing very quietly along to this song, and it was just one of those moments, you know. I walked in and the light was as it was, and it was snowing outside, and she was singing very quietly to this song, and it was just really beautiful. And then a couple months later, she sang it at like an open mic night in the local cafe, and it sort of became our song. Sort of every time one of us had a birthday, we'd send each other that song, you know. So it became really special.
Right. So very nostalgic.
Yeah, very much. Yeah.
Lovely. Is there an emotion or a set of emotions that you connect to this song?
Well, that went on to be a really complicated relationship, over the years. So
complicated?
Yeah, yeah, complicated. So yeah, it's very evocative, and I mean, not unpleasant feelings, but potent feelings.
Potent. Is it a mixed bag?
Yeah, I suppose so.
Yeah. Do you feel a connection to the lyrics?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, some of it. Yeah. I like the lyrics. I think it's a nicely written song. There's one line I like. He said it's all in your head, and I said so's everything, but you didn't get it. I think that's a nice line. It's clever. It's funny.
Is there a connection between the person who fell in love with this song with the person that you are today?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, although I associate it with those kind of angsty, youthful feelings, they haven't entirely left me, you know. There's still a bit of a teen angst in me, yeah, I think. So, yeah, I think so.
Your second song, what have you chosen for us today on Connect 4?
Yeah, the second choice was The Last Time I Saw Richard by Joni Mitchell.
All romantics meet the same fate someday, cynical and drunk and boring someone in some dark cafe.
Time and a place where you first connected with the song?
It reminds me mostly of the first time I went to university. I went to Roehampton very briefly when I was about 19. It's funny, because although I was in Roehampton, I was living in Essex, so I wouldn't have travelled home on the tube. But for some reason, every time I hear that song, I think of the Underground being packed up and leaving uni, which is strange because it's probably a false memory. I don't think that actually happened. I don't think I listened to it on the Underground on my way home. But it always reminds me of that time and place, yeah. And it's a beautiful song, but it's kind of sad, and it was kind of a sad time, and yeah.
Okay, so it was, which leads me to, obviously, you've just remarked on it. Is there an emotion or a set of emotions connected to the song?
Yeah, I mean, nostalgia, it kind of makes me sort of sad.
Are you sad in respect to your experiences at university?
It wasn't so much, yeah. I mean, it was just a bit of a shitty period of my life, really, which went on for quite some time. But I've used bits of that song, bits of the lyrics in bits of writing since. So it's not, I really like the song. It's not like it makes me sad and I can't listen to it. It's not one of them,
Okay, so it's bearable. And as you just said, you've used some of the lyrics in your writing. So is there still a connection between the person who fell in love with this song with the person that you are today?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Yeah, I really admire the writing in that song. It's very unusual and quite a striking piece of writing.
What's the third song you've chosen for us, Joe?
The third song is a bit more cheerful. It's Adventures Close to Home by the Slits.
Passion that shone and red with anger, I lost myself through alleys of mystery.
Tell me a time and the place when you first connected with the song.
It would have been when I was living in Stratford, about 6-7 years ago, I think. And there was one particular summer there were 6 of us in this house. It was a bit of a young ones kind of house, this one summer we were all completely skint and coming up with various dubious ways of sort of getting some money together to drink for another day, you know, and we had all these mad schemes going on. There was a lot going on in this house, and that's one of a few songs that we used to play a lot, you know, and sort of dance around drunkenly. And there was no front room in this house, but there was a huge basement which we used as a front room, and it became known as the hole. You know, you just disappear into the hole for like 4 or 5 days at a time. But there was always a laptop and speakers down there, and so yeah, a few particular songs take me right back down there, and that's one of them.
I'll tell you, Joe, you've actually connected me back with my student days.
Yeah.
I lived in some pretty crazy houses. One house with seven of us in once, you know. I think by Christmas there was only 5 of us left, you know.
The other 2 died.
Yeah. Possibly, yeah. They weren't seen again after November, that's for sure. Is there an emotion or a set of emotions you connect to the song?
That's probably the only one on my list that actually makes me feel really happy, you know. Although it was a really, you know, that kind of scruffy, pleasant kind of memories, you know.
Yeah.
Even though it was a bit of a mess, it was squalid but fun, you know.
Yeah. You feel a connection to the lyrics?
I don't know if I could even recite any of the lyrics, you know. No, not really. Not with that one. It's just a song I like.
Okay. Is there still a connection between the person who you were when you fell in love with this song and with the person you are today?
I don't know. Probably less so than the others. And it's strange because I've recently met up with a couple of the people who were there at that time, and they've done the whole, like, getting older and mortgages and houses, and so it really is one of those songs that's linked to a part of my life that's you're not getting back, you know. Whereas the others, I suppose, because they were so personal to me, the other songs, you take them with you throughout your life, perhaps. Whereas one relates to a group of friends that's not really the same anymore.
Yeah.
I feel like I've moved. Well, I feel like others have moved on. I'm not sure I have. But
What's your final song for us?
the last song is England by PJ Harvey.
From the album Let England Shake?
Yeah.
The country that I love.
Tell me a time and a place where you first connected with it.
I first heard it when I was living in Hackney. A friend bought the album and I liked it. But then I didn't really listen to that album again until about 2 years ago, when, for one reason or another, I was living in a barn in East Sussex, and that was one of only about 3 albums I had with me, so I listened to it a lot, and it was the winter, we had all those storms, so that's what that takes me back to, that song.
Wow, that was very atmospheric.
Yeah, it was.
Sounds.
Yeah.
What emotions or set of emotions connect you to the song?
Again, it's another song I really admire the writing for that whole album. Actually, I think it's really nicely written. It makes me feel, you know, there's a kind of angst running through most of my choices here. So, but similar, a kind of angsty, you know, that sort of standing in the wind kind of, that kind of feeling.
Okay. You also just mentioned obviously the lyrics again.
Mm.
It seems to me that sort of, you know, lyrical wordplay plays an important part or has played an important part in your song choices today. Still a connection between that person who fell in love with the song and you today?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, that wasn't all that long ago. So yeah, I think so. Mm.
Yeah. Well, Joe, we're at the end. I've just got one more thing to ask you. Do you think you will be able, in thinking about them as a whole, to connect the 4 songs for me and sum up in 4 words who the person is behind the music?
Well, I think 2 of the choices there, the PJ Harvey and the Joni Mitchell, are sort of thematically, and they're similar kind of music, you know. The Fiona Apple, kind of as well, but a bit more playful. And then obviously the Slits, which is just kind of a much more enjoyable, pleasant, kind of buoyant song. Angsty, poor. It's harder to answer than it should be. I don't know, we'll have to come back to that.
Okay, Joe, thanks very much for your answers.
Yeah,
and
no
taking
problem.
part in Connect 4.
Thanks, Gary.
Connect 4. Welcome, Lily.
Hi, Gary.
4 songs, soundtrack of your life. What's your first song?
My first song is Beyond Redemption by Him. Mainly because it just reminds me of being in secondary school, and I got quite into him. I got a little bit obsessed with Vilvalo, the lead singer, and it was when I was just entering into my sort of depressive, gothic, no one understands me phase.
You were a goth then, yeah?
A little bit. I dabbled, I'd say, in my early teens.
Would The Cure be in there?
Not so much The Cure. I was more kind of him and Velvet Underground, things like this. And I was really into, the Interview with the Vampire film and things like this. Kind of thought I was a vampire for a few years, to be honest.
Yeah, doesn't every goth? Is there an emotion or set of emotions which connects you to the song?
Oh, just the whole no one understands me, but I write in my diary because I hate everyone. I don't feel like that now, but when I think of it, I do remember kind of like just feeling so emotional about everything because life is so hard when you're 13.
A bit detached from the world, were you?
Yeah.
Do you feel a connection to the lyrics?
I don't even really know what they are. And it sounds ridiculous. Like, I genuinely wouldn't be able to say. I've listened to that song about 600 times probably, and I don't really know what the lyrics are, I'm afraid.
Is it an affected vocal style? Is it a bit like Sisters of Mercy?
Just the kind of depressing, kind of like really, like strangled nature of the song.
Okay, so more like the timbre of the sound as opposed to the lyrics.
Exactly.
If you like, yeah? Is there still a connection between the person who fell in love with this song with who you are today?
No, I think I reformed in my late teens into quite a happy-go-lucky character. So no, I got the darkness kind of out of my system a few years ago. Do
you still drink blood?
Yeah, obviously. But like, who doesn't?
So there's still a little bit of a link there, yeah. Okay, thanks, Lily. Can we move on to song number 2?
Song number 2 is Smoke and Mirrors by RJD2.
Who knows what tomorrow will bring? Maybe sunshine and maybe rain.
Most people know Ghostwriter, their song. It's quite a famous one, but Smoke and Mirrors is my favourite, and I got into it, I think, in my late teens. That's when I first started being into kind of experimental music, which is what I'm still really into now.
Okay, so could you just expand on RTD2? What kind of music is it? I don't think I've heard of the artist.
He's sort of a experimental indie electronic, I would describe him as. I'm not sure if Wikipedia would say the same thing, but yeah.
Okay, could you think of any peers in his little basket of lo-fi electronica?
He's quite unique. I would liken him to Moo Juice, but no one knows who Moo Juice is. So Google Moo Juice. If you don't know who Moo Juice is, Google him. It's great.
There you go, listeners. Okay, Lily's putting you on there to some red hot lo-fi electronica. Is there an emotion or set of emotions which connects you to the song?
I mean, so when I hear it, I think of just being in a park at 16. Kind of just chilling out. Should have been revising for my GCSEs, definitely wasn't.
Okay, so a bit of escapism in there, is there?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's definitely a nostalgia song.
Yeah. Okay, lovely. We all have them. Connection to the lyrics?
There aren't any lyrics.
Oh, okay, so we have an
No,
instrumental.
there are some lyrics actually, but they're not. It's more about the tones of the music. There's not really. If there are lyrics, I can't even think. I think they're like that repetitive kind of lyric. Oh no, there are. It's sort of there are bits, but it's not really like a story or anything. It's just bits of random wording.
Okay. Yeah, you were over. So this was 16, did you say?
Yeah, 16, 17. Yeah.
Okay, so you're over the goth phase by then.
I mean, that didn't last very long. I'll be honest with you. It was about a year, and then I kind of realised it just did not suit me at all.
Okay. And is there still a connection between the person who fell in love with this song with who you are today?
I reckon so. It's kind of like the chilled out ambient side of my personality.
Very interesting in that you went from doom-laden goth to ambient chill out in the space of quite a few years.
I mean, I think it's just the discovery of marijuana, isn't it? When you're 16.
You got it. Song number 3, what have you got for us, Lily?
Well, so this is a bit of a weird one. It is a song, but it's from a show called The Mighty Boosh. And it's the Tundra Rap.
The Arctic is no respecter of fashion, Vince. You know? Never take the tundra lightly. It can drive a man insane. You know what it is about this place and get to a man? Not really.
The Mighty Boosh was quite a significant time of my life discovering it because I looked a lot like Noel Fielding as a teenage girl. So this is 17, 18, and I had a black mullet.
Oh my God!
And it's not that he's not attractive, he's a good-looking man, but as a woman you don't really want to look like him. I was just obsessed with the Mighty Boosh. It's like my favourite show. We used to all watch it at school together, and I just used to love the Tundra rap. It was one of my favourite episodes. So I'm 17 now,
Okay.
18 maybe.
You know, set of emotions connecting you to the song.
Just happy, you know, just that feeling of like happiness and comedy, and like I used to, even though it was just a little song from the show, I had it downloaded onto my iPod and I used to listen to it, which is pretty lame. So yeah, just all positive vibes. So we did the marijuana with the RJD2, then we did the magic mushrooms with the Mighty Boosh.
I can see it being a perfect compliment to the zany antics.
Yeah.
Do you feel a connection to the lyrics?
I mean, it's mainly just about the blinding whiteness of a tundra, which I'm sure is an accurate description. I personally have never done any sort of expedition in the snow, but I'm sure at some point in my life I might, and then I probably will connect to the lyrics.
Okay. There's still a connection between the person who fell in love with the song and you today.
Oh, massively. I still love the Mighty Boosh, and I'm still really into comedy, and so yes, definitely.
Great. And we come to your final song then, the fourth and final selection from yourself, and what would that be, and when and where did you first connect with it?
Okay, so a bit of a leap here. We've gone all the way to 24. Forget uni. And I went to Australia recently, and on my way back I went travelling through Vietnam, and that was just when Major Lazer Lean On came out. I just heard it during a time that I was having a really good time travelling and exploring, and just, yeah, was just really happy. And so for me, it's just a big part of that. Whenever I listen to it, I just feel really happy because it reminds me of that.
So a very different time in your life then.
Yes.
Yeah. It's full of adventure.
Yeah.
It's great to have a soundtrack to adventures. I've done the backpacking thing. You will hear sort of in some mad outposts, you'll hear some songs, you know, and they stick with you and remind you of those times. It's an emotional set of emotions which connects you to it.
I mean, I would just say kind of nostalgia, really. I think most songs hold a bit of nostalgia, and that would be the biggest one that I would associate with that song.
Look back fondly at your adventures.
Having said that, I did hear it when I just had a motorbike accident. Take the rough with the smooth.
Indeed. Do you feel a connection to the lyrics?
There's this one lyric in it, and it's something like when I return, will we walk down the same road? And I'd been away for a year, and I'd been really missing this boy from back home while I was away. And that bit, I was just about to go home for the first time in over a year, so I kind of, that bit always, I was kind of like, oh god, are we going to see each other? And it kind of rang true to me a little bit.
And did you?
Yeah, no, we...
You walked down the same road?
Yeah,
Okay.
let's just leave it at that.
Okay, I'll have you. That could be a euphemism there. I'll leave you to the side. Is there still a connection between the person who fell in love with this song and who you are today?
I mean, it was only a few months ago, so yeah, I've stayed pretty much consistently the same person since then.
So this brings us bang up to date then?
Yeah, no, that's me now.
So we've gone from teen goth to well-travelled road warrior, and given that we've now covered all the songs, I'd ask you now, Lily, if you can, to connect the four songs and tell me in 4 words who the person is behind the music.
Connect 4.
Experimental, misspent, travelled youth, I would say.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Connect 4.
Hi, Richard.
Hey, how you doing, Gary?
You've got 4 songs that you've chosen today.
My first choice was a really famous track by The Clash, Rock the Casbah.
Don't like it.
Da-na-na-na.
Oh, what a tune. Tell me when and where you first connected with it, Richard.
Well, I was a little wee nipper growing up in Dulwich, very young, about 3 or 4.
Okay.
I can remember my mum singing it to me when she was she was giving me a bath and all that, and she was really singing it. So that was like one of my first big songs I can really remember in my life, really.
What emotion or set of emotions connect you to it?
It just reminds me of like when everything was so young and innocent, and you didn't have a care in the world, and you know, growing up and as a small kid and sort of experiencing life for the first time. Yeah, just remember it being played all the time. So
Do you feel a connection to the lyrics?
yeah, well, I was a bit too young to understand the lyrics, so I wasn't really sort of focusing or concentrating on the lyrics. But I just remember for sort of melody and, you know, Shireen don't like it. So,
Is there still a connection between the person who you were and fell in love with this song and who you are today?
absolutely, I wish I could go back to those times as a wee kid and, you know, experience that all over again. But yeah, there is a big connection between me and that song now. It just, to me, it just shows when the world was free and innocent and none of this, more panic or mass hysteria.
Okay, we'll move on to song 2 then, Richard. And what have you chosen for us?
My second song is a track called Onyx, called Slam. And it was like the first big track of me after just starting secondary school, growing up in like the hood with all my friends, and that track was like, that was a really big up track in our days, where you used to sit at home around my friend's house and like they played that track and we all started like mass bungles, as they would say back in the day.
Mass bungles?
Bungles, where we all used to play fight each other.
What age would you have been then?
Early teens, 13, 14, 15.
Having fun with your mate?
Yeah, that's it, yeah. Things were getting a little bit more serious in the hood, so yeah, it was slowly but surely we were starting to get ourselves into mischief.
Okay.
So yeah.
So an emotion or a set of emotions that you connect to it?
Yeah, growing up and just remembering like going around my friend's house, watching this especially on a music video channel called The Box.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time The Box was really in its infancy. The Box was on that, so it was like a big thing to us, showing us a mirror reflection of sort of American hood and the more of outside world, and especially like American culture as well. So yeah.
You feel a connection to the lyrics?
Yeah, so let the boys be boys, Slam. So yeah, I do, like, because I was just hanging out with the boys, and yeah.
Is there still a connection between the person who you were, who fell in love with the song, and who you are today?
Well, yeah, it's a little bit of a connection to that person I was there to now. It's like,
how do you think you've moved away from that?
Just growing up.
Track number 3, what have you got for us?
Oh, track number 3 is Moloko, and the track is entitled Sing It Back.
Bring it back, sing it back, bring it back, sing it back to me.
Sing it back. When and where did you first connect with the song?
When I was like a teenager, and like I had my first day of like sort of internship at a music video production company called Jane Fuller's, and I walked through the door and there's a really ultra famous director at the moment called Thomas Napper, who always works with a guy called Joe Wright, and I always remember him sitting with my producer Chris. I walked through the door and they just turned around and smiled at me, and my first day for this track was blaring out in the background and everyone was like dancing to it while we was trying to work as well. So that was my first really nice working memory. I was a wee like sort of runner. I was like tea maker, researcher. I used to do all the show reels, meeting and greeting, making sure everyone's alright, go get the lunches, banking, working on set as a set runner, watching all the filming, making sure everyone's alright. So yeah, that's my first big sort of job really, which leads me back to here. So
right,
yeah.
An emotion or a set of emotions that connects you to the song?
Very emotional, I'm so very connected, and I'm very emotional. Every time I hear it, it just brings me back to my first day of work, which I'll never forget, with Chris and Thomas.
So how does that make you feel? Is it
very emotional? It brings like tears to my eyes. That's why I say it now, but because Thomas is such a good friend to me.
So you're nostalgic for
absolutely
for that moment.
Absolutely, mate. So yeah.
Do you feel a connection to the lyrics?
Absolutely, yeah. Sing it back, bring it back. I wish I could wake up tomorrow morning, go into Soho in Golden Square, number 10, and have a keys to it, and open up and see Thomas and Chris there working on Ministry of Sound project. So yeah, I would love to, Okay,
so the idea of bringing it back, actually, going back to that moment in time.
I would love to go back.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think there's a lot of us who wish we could open the door to yesteryear.
I've got a time machine around the corner, so.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I thought I'd recognise your scarf.
Yeah, Doctor.
Is there still a connection between the person who fell in love with this song and who you are today?
Well, yeah, I'm just about to start my 3rd year at Arts University, and that's one of the main reasons why I'm here, because it's to really fulfill the talent of why I first walked through the doors to actually start working in production, was to try to do something, and all these years later I'm still trying to do the same thing what I tried to do from before. So every time I hear that song, it just puts it back into perception of why I'm actually doing this thing, and for it not to be a wasted period, and and what we can achieve from it. So yeah, it's good.
Brilliant. And you were saying you've been doing it all these years, but another way of putting that is you haven't given up.
I haven't given up. I'm still here. I'm still here.
Great.
One more swing of the dice, mates.
keep rolling, keep rolling, Richard.
Yeah.
And we got one more song.
We got one more song.
We got your final song. What
Yeah,
would that be?
my final song is by a brilliant artist, French artist called Woodkid, and the song is called Run Boy Run.
Run, boy, run. This world is not meant for you. Run, boy, run. They're trying to catch you.
Tell me when and where you first connected with it.
I first connected when I was working for Chris, whose partner I used to work for up until 2013. I saw an amazing video, and then I showed my boss the video, and then he absolutely loved it, and then like she signed him. But also to me, it's like how much time like we all waste, and where to get to where we need to get to in the terms of the lyrics of like run boy run, always trying to run to your sort of destination where you should have really been before, really. So yeah.
Okay, so it's the idea of kind of marking time or making
Yeah.
time, yeah. I guess what you've done there is in describing that you're answering, do you feel a connection to the lyrics?
Absolutely, so prevalent in the last 2015, in the last few years. So yeah. Big part of my life is tracks. So sick.
What about an emotion or a set of emotions that connects you to the song?
Trying to make up for lost time and all the time you wasted doing silly things when you should have been doing what you really wanted to do.
Okay,
But he was out doing. It's a sort of when he says "Run, boy, run," the stars will guide you. It's like it's in your destiny, but things in your life might get in the way, and they might try to hold you back, but you'll always run to where you need to get to, because it might have been foreseen by somebody, if you know what I mean. It's very spiritual in those lyrics as well.
Okay. Is there still a connection between the person who fell in love with the song and who you are today?
Because it's a very quite recent song, like it always stays with me, like every time I walk through the doors of like this wonderful building and knowing what might be happening in the future. It's like making up for lost time as well, or running after time, or trying to make up that lost time you squandered. So you're trying to sort of always run towards it. So yeah, that's me, mate.
Okay, Richard, what we're going to do, I'm going to ask you, can you connect the 4 songs and tell me in 4 words who the person is behind the music?
Unknowing what the future might hold when hearing like Rock with Casbah. Imagining for the second one, imagining what you could do for the future.
That one shows that you were imaginative. Yeah. You are imaginative.
Yeah. You could say like ambition, really. Like not in because obviously I was a ethnic working class kid, but I had some sort of ambition. And standing next to like Robbie Williams, and like, do you know what I mean? Like Robbie loving the guy, so like I felt like I was quite ambitious at that time. And I say for the 4th one, it's hope, innit? Hopeful, not just for myself, but for all the people around me, and for all the people I care about, and for all the creative people I've known through like Goldsmiths here and just everywhere. It's just like hoping for the future that somebody can achieve what they want to do and achieve their dreams, and just like, hope.
Richard, thanks very much.
Cool, mate. All right, nice one,
Cheers, man. Cheers, boss.
Cheers.